Okay, I've got a new project started here. I'll call this the Paper Straw Bridge Video Project. I'm going to flip back and forth sometimes from this to the this one. This has got all the examples. I might look at those, so just beware I might be switched over. Mostly it will be in here because I can follow it. So the first step here is to add our variables, and that you're going to get from this Google Doc. So down the lower left here, we're going to click on Create Variable Studio. It's going to add a new variable. Make sure this box is checked, and then we're going to go up here and click Insert Variable Studio. We are going to use a URL, which I have in this document here. So we can copy link URL. And the steps are here for this. If you want to do it that way, Control V, paste, enter, and then you click on it, and you'll see all of our variables will come in. Check the box. Now this can be updated by me occasionally. It's on V7. It will alert you when that needs to update. I believe it's a blue dot, so just be aware. Most things do not change. Also noticing these are all in inches, so make sure your document, you're in millimeters here. If you're not, that will make things a little bit confusing for you. We're not doing this, but just change it all to metric, since we do a lot of metric stuff. You don't have to do all these, just the main one is millimeter there. Okay, now you should see everything in millimeters. We've got some of our spec in here. You can resize these. That's helpful to see them and see what I've called everything. I've tried to name everything with, if it's the whole bridge, I named it with bridge. If it's just the straw, we use that straw as the first word. So that helps organize things when you're searching for things. You can search for any word in your variables to find them quickly, so you don't have to type the whole thing out. All right, if you want to add any of your own variables, you can add them down here, and anything that you want to override from this variable list, you can type the same name down here, and it'll use your variable if you don't want to use mine. Since you can't change these, you can only get my updates. So that's the way you'd override a variable that I've used. Of course, you can create your own variables and use them. You don't have to use mine. Okay, so we're going to start in the Part Studio here. Our target is in that first Part Studio is a bridge side with a few nodes, and it's going to have all the straws. So the reason we need to draw these straws here and have this partially assembled is it's really difficult to mate these straws. We're going to use a tool called the frame tool to make them, and that doesn't lend nicely to mates. You can do it, however, it's time consuming, and we've got the ability to do the cut list I talked about in the first video, so you don't really need it. We're going to bring everything in together as a composite part. Right here, you can see that here. I'll hide all the parts, and the composite part is, the straws will bring in as a composite part, and the nodes will bring these in together and do what's called a group in the assembly to keep them in the right place. So really this will be kind of a new video for grouping things. Instead of having to use mate connectors all the time, we can do some things to improve the efficiency. So let's get started here. We're going to start with just the overall sketch. I'll actually roll this up, roll to here. You can use this to just show the first step. So we're going to show that sketch. So this is going to be the outline of my sketch. This is what you're targeting. N key again brings that all nicely aligned. So I'm just going to create something simple. You can create your own design. Let's just go ahead and create, what am I calling this? I'm going to rename this, and I'll just copy it from here. Here we go. Going back over here, create that sketch, and we'll even name it right away. This is my sketch. I'm going to put that on the front plane. And right over here, click the N key, and that gets us aligned. Doesn't matter where you put your origin. I'm just going to put mine in the center. And here we go. This doesn't need to be solid lines. You'd think just for something that's going to be a sketch, you'd want to use sketch lines, but we are going to export this to a software called Engilab that will need will need this. I recommend using symmetry as much as you can. So I'm just going to draw a triangle here, and you can use a lot of constraints. I want to make these two equal. There we go. Show all my constraints. So we've got an origin constraint, coincidence. And now remember, you can click, drag here. This is in yours is going to be a specific length. D is your dimension. So click D. And now this is spacing, bridge space between load nodes. So you want to use that. That's spec. You got your support node and then your first load node. I'm just doing one load for this example. You're going to have to do 3 load nodes. So beware, this is a little different from the real one. Okay, now I've got to give it a height because still not constrained, although you would think it would be now. Something is still, usually if you cannot move it, it is fully constrained. Well, I'm going to give it a height, and hopefully that constrains it. We went from this line to here, and I'll do 75 there, and that's constrained. And let's see, we're going to, actually I'll bring this over here, this down here. So I'll create a mirror line here just so I can mirror this because I'm going to make my other side the same. So my new favorite keystrokes are L and then construction. It's right behind my camera, so Q. LQ or QL should give me construction lines. Now I can start here, and you can grab that point and just give it a constraint. There you go. And then we have the ability to mirror this. And here we go. Select the mirror line, and then let's just mirror these. Don't grab, oh yeah, you want this one, sorry. And that's good. And then we need to add one more line up here. And now, I don't want to dimension that because I already dimensioned, so hit escape. That is our overall sketch. That's what we're going to build for this bridge. Click check mark, and we're going to move on. Hang on 1 second while I adjust this real quick. So one more thing, I want to show you a few more keystrokes. P hides all our, should all hide our planes. Hang on. There. I had it selected. So there hides our planes, so we don't have to look at those. Remember, N key brings it all straight. F key, like I said, if you're zoomed way out, F key brings it in, zooms it in. So there's our finished 2D design sketch. Just incidentally, if you're doing the next step, I can give you a heads up. You're going to right click here and you're going to export as DXF and then export this for the next step. We're going to keep drawing here since you will need the the nodes next. So let's do that. All right, so we're going to create a new sketch, and a couple ways to do this. We can use, this is on the front plane, so we can just do another sketch right on the front plane. Nothing wrong with that. We can just pick it here since I have it hidden. And there we go. Now we're going to start our node sketch. This is going to look a lot like this when we're done. Let's bring this down to the next, roll back bar down. Come on. Oh, into this. Close that sketch. Here we go. Node sketch is going to look like this when we're done. A lot of different ways to draw this sketch, but you're only going to draw one of your nodes and put these circles where your other nodes are going to go. That's important, so you can put mate connectors there. Very simply, I've got some variables. You only use variables for any of these. We are going to be doing some things in here that are maybe a bit unorthodox, that is copying and pasting, which we don't typically do in Onshape. However, if we use variables, it makes it very easy to change all of the dimensions at once if you have problems. So these variables are in there. There's no numbers. Now, if you're using variables, you can use them multiple times. That's the whole idea of a variable. So we have some variables here that we use for our notch too. So you definitely want to create some variables for those. Your notch. This is actually the wood height, and then the notch width. Oh, I did not make a variable there for the notch width. I'll do that in a moment for the video. So because you will probably have multiple notches you need to deal with. So let's go back over there. Actually, what I'll do now is I'll show you the update. So we need a notch width variable. Actually, we'll do that shortly. We'll get the round nodes, what I call the strut nodes, done first. Okay, so let's go back over here. We've got our sketch started, and let's begin. So first node is going to happen right here, and now I have if you type equal sign, just type width, and then I've got. Notice I've used bridge, cross, and you know you're in the node. So node. Oops. Diameter. I called it diameter. That's why it's not there. Node diameter. There we go. Enter. And there's our first node. Now, your straw tabs, which connect to your straws, we've played around with this. This align rectangle seems to work the best. It also works best to draw them off of the bridge first. So align rectangle, we'll just do this. And click here. You want to get a coincident. Notice it's showing a coincident there. Click here and bring it out. Doesn't matter how far. We're going to do those dimensions in a second. Hit equal sign, and this is going to be length, and that's node straw tab length. Enter, equal sign again, and that's width. Node straw tab width. Enter. Okay, now if you look at this, we've got mostly constrained. To lock it on there very easily, grab a point and just put it on the midpoint. It's going to create that constraint for you. Don't let it create any other constraints accidentally, like there. It's going to create a horizontal and vertical constraint. We don't want that because that's going to lock it into place. We only want the midpoint. So there we go. Hit escape, and notice what we can do. We can snap it on. We have one more to draw. A rarely used feature of Onshape is Control-C, Control-V, because you rarely copy things. This is one case where it just seems to be better because you get really confusing. You can use circular patterns. You can do all kinds of things. What happens when you use a lot of constraints with these nodes is if you try to change something later, it's really hard to figure out what you did. The nice thing about copying and pasting is as long as you don't change the circle, if you're gonna use circle nodes with straw tabs, those things I have not seen change. Some people have changed them slightly. It's rare. So if you know you're not gonna change something, then it's probably okay to copy paste, and especially in a sketch where it's all in one place. Someone can come up with a better way to do this purely parametrically. It's not full of extra constraints. Like, look, this is pretty straightforward. Let me know. If someone wants to get good at writing scripts, you can write scripts that make these. That's the way a lot of repetitive things are done, by writing scripts. That's another thing to think about. So let's go ahead and copy it. We can just, I like to get it, be careful as you move it. You don't want it to create any constraints. It has not done that yet. Let's just draw a box around it and make sure we just have that node, straw tab, Control-C, Control-V. Okay, now it's over here. It's giving us a green check mark on my left mouse button. So that means in order to finish this, I need to click. Now I have now something happened here. It looks like it might have added a vertical constraint or something, but maybe not. We're going to bring this down and we're going to connect it down at the bottom. I think it did add some constraints. I'm just going to do something else here. I'm going to turn this slightly to make sure it doesn't do that. Turn it slightly so it does not make constraints on its own. There we go. Control-C, Control-V. You can grab it, move it if you want. And we want to rotate it a bit. So doesn't like to rotate very well. So okay, now we're going to snap it on. And notice what we can do. We can rotate it around. Should be able to rotate it around. It's a little finicky, but you can also click there. I want those to be coincident, and I'll just find my coincident and do it. If you can't move it by hand, you can always use the constraint to lock it in. So there we go. We've got our 2 nodes. Now we have a really flexible node here. It's got nice dimensions. The only thing it's missing is its constraint there. Now it's time to go and make a copy of it, so we don't add any additional constraints that make it unique to this position. So let's copy it. Control C, Control V. We can bring it up here. So we're going to use it up there next. And click. All right, so let's finish this one off. We're going to go like that. Click, click, and voila. Oh, we forgot one thing on this. The straw hole down there, which is easy enough to fix. Equal sign. This is strut. I think I call it strut hole diameter. A node strut. You could also just search for node if you can't find that. Strut is a new word. Strut is the part of a bridge that goes across. So node strut hole diameter, and we'll hit enter. There it is. And so we can, we could copy it. Control C, Control V, bring it up, click, and snap it in. However you want to do it. This should be now a free floating node. This one needs 3 tabs, so let's just add another one. So let's go ahead and copy the tab, Control C, Control V. Let's bring it over here. We could even rotate it and get it into place if you want to make it easier. Click. Notice that's the finish. Click it, and then we can bring it over, snap that on. Again, you can use, and notice it doesn't want to move because we haven't fixed that. Coincident brings it in. Okay, we need 1 down, 1 over, and 1. So we're going to put it in place. This will help lock it, and we can then get it to start fitting. Here we go. There's 1, and this one's going to go down here. 2, and oh, you know what? We need another triple. So let's, before I do that, let's copy it. Actually, we need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. So let's get it up here. Copy it. Control C, Control V. In a way, a lot of scripts we use do what we're doing here. They actually will draw all this for you. We're doing what a program can do, obviously. So what you're creating is something that a feature script might create by copying and pasting or doing it its own way, but pretty safe to do it this way here. So let's then drop this one on, and let's add this here. We're going to snap it in there, snap it in here, and then snap this in here. Snap, I mean constrain. You're doing a coincidence. So there we go. Got all our constraints are all in here. You can move them around if you want. It's easier to see, but that's our node. Now we need one more with 4. This will be our last unique node. So we need to get one more constraint here. One more tab, I mean. Here we go. Control C, Control V. And let's rotate that just this way a little bit and move it up. Click. Okay, let's bring that down. I'll constrain this one first. And we'll use the constrain tool there. Okay, now we've got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll be this one. And let's get them all put on there. Not too bad, pretty efficient, easy to use. And as I said, the number of constraints and how to figure out. When you use mirroring is helpful. However, you don't want to draw more than the same node twice. You could draw this here, mirror it up here, you could get part of it. Then you'd have a whole bunch of constraints. You'd have to remember which one you drew first. Sometimes a little hard to tell. This gets busy enough, but all these constraints are local to this one. It's good. Good enough. So here we go. We've got these all here. Just kind of make this a little cleaner. It's got a little messed up when we rotate it. All right. So those are our nodes. Now, last thing we need on here is a couple of circles, and they can be construction lines. So we're going to do our construction line, which is Q, and then circle, and we need one here, and that's going to be equal sign node. If you remember its diameter, you can type that node diameter and enter, and then again here equal node. Oh, wow, it's smart. Node diameter. Okay, that's all of our nodes, and we can call this our node sketch. Nodes. So now we can see our progress here. All right, our next step is going to be to go through here and look at our other bridge, which is over here, and got our node sketch there, which you see, and then extrude our nodes, and then we'll work on our straw center lines. Okay, that's our next step, and yeah, straws will come in right after that, which are hidden here, but you'll see them come in. Okay, here we go. Let's get those done in the video one. So really just simple as extruding. I'll show you something cool here. If I hit S, if I click on that, hover over that and hit the S key, I get this nice little menu. This is like a in context. It tells me all the things I can do from this point. I want to extrude, so there we go. Got me my extrude, and then I want to start picking my nodes, all my nodes that need to be extruded. Oops. So if you have that happen, hide your design sketch. There are these little slices that you can convert those to construction lines if you want to make that a little easier. If you have lots of nodes, one thing you might have done is change that little piece to a construction, so you don't have to click on this. It is a little annoying. And here we go. Don't forget those. Yeah, that might be a nice step to add to a future video. Okay, those are our nodes, and you can see them down here. I'm going to give them a name at this point. That way I can identify them more easily. So we're going to rename. That is the, oops, which one was that? Select it. There we go. Rename. I'll call that lower outside node. This one here is rename upper outside, and these are my lower center node. However you want to name yours. It's nice to have that in the bill of materials and the drawings that we'll do later. So we're going to do that here. And I'm losing my mind here. Rename properties. Well, you can do it this way too. Oh, I have two selected, that's why. By the way, you can rename multiple things at once. That's what I was trying to do. Rename. And this is our lower. Okay. Lower, not loser. The biggest node. Okay. So now we've got our nodes. Showing our node sketch, we see these other nodes will end up there. So let's pop back over to our other drawing here, and we see that's where we're at. Okay, so we're going to do our straw center lines. Our straw center lines is a sketch. When we draw our straws, we only want them to extend to the circle on the node here. See that a little bit. I'll hide the nodes. You can see this a little. The frame tool that we'll use requires a sketch line to be at the center of the straw. And notice these are, oh, I forgot something we have to fix. These are supposed to be in the very center of our nodes, which means we need an asymmetric extrude. So we'll fix that. Go back. So you're going to use coincident, circle and line coincidence, and that will give us the straw center lines. So we're going to do a sketch. We're going to do another sketch, and we're working on that front plane still. So there we go. And, oh, before I do that, let's fix this because I'll forget later. This should have been symmetric. That gets it symmetric on the front plane. Oh boy, and I forgot the thickness there, which should have been wood thickness. Wood thickness. That looks better. There we go. So now notice they're right there, extruded both ways so that our straws will fit nicely on there. Okay, so we've got our extrude. We'll do the sketch on the front plane. And now our straw center lines. We don't need the nodes, so we can hide all the parts. We do need the node sketch, and we actually need the design sketch. So that'll give us everything we need to do these. QL is construction line. Don't forget to do both. And now here we go. We are going to start here on the bottom. So you have coincident, 2. Hold down your wheel to drag. Keep going. And coincident. Don't pick here. You don't want the straw to go. Hang on. I do want to go here. Yeah, I want it here. Right? Because I want the straw to extend all the way. So, escape. We're just going to Control Z do that again. QL, we'll start over here and brings it back, and we want it to be here. Oops, QL. Start here, coincident. Why am I not getting coincident? Hang on. Yeah, we do want them to be here. So maybe I've done this wrong in the past. Let's do it again. QL. We are, midpoint. We want a midpoint constraint to the midpoint here. Okay, that is the correct spot. So midpoint to midpoint should do it. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep going on that. QL, you can just keep going. You don't have to cancel it. Here we go. Midpoint, it's going to be midpoint to midpoint. That's what we want, midpoint to midpoint. And actually, you do have to escape those lines. So QL is your friend here because it gets you right back ready to go. There we go. I think I've done this a little bit off in the past, so that might be causing some issues for people. There we go. And we need it for all of our nodes. So, interestingly enough, I've got to change something here because I don't have that point on this one, do I? So, yeah, because we want our straws to make contact right there and there, and not floating a little bit above it. So let us go and add that. We need to add a tab here, or at least a construction line centered on there that is the right length. So let's do that so we can do the straw lines. I'm thinking, let's just do it like this. QL, there's always a million ways to do this. I could do a lined rectangle. I have perpendicular, so let's just do coincident. Oops, sorry, I'm going to dimension that right away. QL, same way we drew the line rectangle, equal sign. This is our width. This is our node straw tab width. Enter. Okay, escape that. Now it's somehow constrained itself here. How? Did I get a midpoint constraint? Oh, because I did it vertically. Interesting. That's going to work for that one, interestingly enough, because to be vertical and be over here, it's going to be centered. So that's good. This one will be a little different because we can't use a vertical constraint. So let's do it again. QL. We could copy and paste this, but now here's where I definitely want to try to get a perpendicular there. If I don't, yeah, there, see? Coincident perpendicular. That gives me the two constraints I need, and that might just do it as well. Equal sign width. All right, straw node straw tab width. There we go. enter, escape. Yeah, that perpendicular fixed it up. That's easy enough. QL, and we're going to do that again. So we want, I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see this. So you notice it's picked perpendicular right there, and we can just drag it out until we have coincident perpendicular. Equal sign, width, node straw tab width, enter, escape, and there we go. We've got what we need on that one. If you want to grab this, you could copy this just like we did for the other ones. Let's try that. See how that works. Control C, Control V, bring it down. It's going to have our length on there because we're going to need it over here, and we'll need one more. Control C, Control V. Everything saves a little bit of work, and then let's bring it down, and we could just add those constraints. This probably will do it. All right, drag, coincident, and now you can just add that perpendicular like this. There it is. And this one here, just we saved having to make that dimension, which requires a little bit of typing. Where am I? Here we go. Coincident, and notice right now it's spinning around like that. Woo. But we want to add that perpendicular. Okay, now we're going to draw these upright. Might have resulted in some short. That's a very small amount of tolerance. I don't think that really affected anyone's bridges so far, but this would be the correct way to do this. Okay, go back into our node sketch and let's keep going. QL, and let's work up here. Midpoint to midpoint. And now we have that point. And yep, midpoint, there we go. Escape line. You can also hit the escape key. QL. We'll grab this one, midpoint there to midpoint. You know you're getting the right one if you just get midpoint. So if you got two constraints there, it's the wrong one. And I think we've got one more here. Yeah. And incidentally, probably don't even need to show this one now, right? Yeah, we could do this without that and keep it from aligned to things. Let's try that. QL. There we go. Midpoint to midpoint. Escape. And this is the last one. Yep. QL. Midpoint to midpoint. The auto constraints are real handy when they do what you want them to do. When they don't, and you don't see them, they can cause a lot of trouble. We'll call this our straw lines. If you're good at recognizing the icons, you don't have to type sketch, but I've done that, I guess, not consistently, but that's the nodes. This is also, I'll rename that. That is my nodes. Extrude. I have them hidden so you don't see them. Okay, now we're ready to make our straw. To make our straw, we will have to create a straw profile. And that's something we'll do in another Part Studio. So let's rename this Part Studio. I usually, when I create more than one, that's when I do the rename. Sometimes I forget. So we're gonna do this right now and rename this. This is our nodes. Oh, actually, this is side. Side Part Studio. So this is now ready to go. Trying to hit the P key. P, get rid of our planes, and we've got our nice sides. So I'm going to add another Part Studio. Create Part Studio. I will rename this right away so I know what it is. So I have multiple. This is my straw straw profile. And it's a strut too. We're going to draw our strut here. Strut is the part that goes between the two bridge sides. So there will be two. This will have two functions. You doesn't really matter what plane you draw this on, because we're going to be, the struts are actually going to be right to left. So actually, let's do it on the right plane. That's going to be our most used position for a strut, right to left. Okay, and now we're just going to draw two circles. One is going to be the straw inner diameter, and the other will be our outer diameter. Oops. Equal sign outer, and I don't know how that got to be a construction line, but is it still selected? No. Escape Q toggles construction. You want two solid lines, and we might as well just draw our strut. Strut here. So let's go ahead and remember, you can do the S button. I want to create an extrude, and then notice your mouse is already in the right place. That's what's nice about it. And I think I have a bridge width. Bridge width, I'm picking the maximum for my range, 80. It's easy to build. You can do, it doesn't matter what you do. You can do symmetric here. You're just going to use this. That's it. So you have your, and I will rename this. This is my straw profile. This is helpful in the frame tool. When you go to pick it, you verify you got the right one, although you got a picture there. Okay, so let's go back to our side part studio. Let's make our beams next. Let's bring our nodes back, since they're going to be integral to this. So, and just to double check, notice we've got our center lines. This will be our straw center lines. Incidentally, I'm calling these straws. They're not struts. Struts go across. These are just, I'm just calling them straws, but they would be part of our bridge structure. Cross members, I don't know the civil engineering term offhand, but I did learn recently the struts, that is the name of those pieces that go across. So we are going to use the frame tool. Frame. Okay, it used to be called the pipe tool, I think. Pipe? Beams. It was called Beams. Onshape has added it to their software, so there's no need to add a feature studio or feature script. So remember I said we need a profile, so we need to go to our document, and here my straw profile has not generated yet, but it will be there. And now we pick, and voila, got a bunch of straws. We just can pick them all, and if we want to look closely, we have the straws fitting nicely into the tabs. You're going to have a little bit of overlap. What you should have, a tiny bit of overlap based on the extra tab width. This is useful for assembly. Notice this, the node, and this is actually now showing a little bit more accurate drawing since I've done this other time. Accurate meaning this straw is going right up to the corner there, so the paper will deform, and you'll have a nice perfect fit. That is how that should have been from the get-go. Okay, so oops. All right, so we finish our, we can rename this straws. Now this does something that we don't always like in Onshape. It creates multiple copies of the same thing. So this is a different part than this is a different part, and these, but really in the parametric world, these would all be the same pieces. So we're gonna do something to fix that, or fix the issue that causes with our list of parts that we're going to do. It's going to be helpful. So just looking at this, looks pretty good. Everything looks fine. We're going to put these two in the assembly. We're not going to duplicate anything in the part studio. But part 4, 5, 6, we might know those are our straws, but there's a quick way to fix that. Click on the first one. You can click on them all, or you can hold down Shift, and it'll pick them all. Now I've got all my straws selected. Right click, go to properties, and just type straw. Now I'm using singular here because the bill of material is just going to be straw this length, straw this length. It's always going to show individual straws. So we just do it singular. You'll see that more later. Same thing with node. Even though there are two of these, it's singular in here. Okay, that's our straw. That is our side part studio. Let me just double check we have everything in there. We're going to go over here and look. Oh, we've got a few mates to make. So we got our straws here. I'm going to show all these. That's basically where we're at. We do need some mates. So to put this together in assembly, the reason we don't want to do this in the we don't want to add our nodes here because we have nice names for these nodes. If we try to do this in here, we're going to end up with something like this. But we have names already, so we want to keep that naming system going, and the assembly keeps that going. Once we use what's called a cut list with all our straws, cuts everything out of the assembly, it makes it one part, kind of like the booleans we used to use, if you remember that, and it's not quite as efficient. But we'll handle the straws and deal with these other nodes in the assembly, which is where we typically do deal with them. So let's finish off these little mates, and I will do the cut list at the very end. So mates for straws. So we just need a mate for all these straws. It's going to be down here. K shows all our mates. It's going to be there. And then we need a mate for each of the nodes we're going to add in the assembly, because there's really no way to position. Remember I said it's really hard to fasten to the end of a straw off of a node. There's really no surface we can use effectively. However, the new way of drawing this might work. I don't know. It seems... Let's just keep it with the mate. It's easy. And then we'll do the cut list last. So here we go. We're going to go right back over. We're going to do those mates. Okay. We got these named straw. So let's do our... I'm going to show our node sketch. We'll do these two mates first. So Control M is mate connector. A couple of things you want. We want an origin entity. And notice the reason we put the circle there, we want that mate pointing out and not up. If we use the point, it's pointing up. Put it right there. Okay, now it's not going to show up. We need an owner part. Owner part is, I would use anything but the node. If you have a node that's unique and won't be duplicated, you can use that. Could use the bridge. Let's just use the node down here. It doesn't really matter, but you might end up with a mate just floating out in La La Land if you use the other node that's going to go there. That's fine too. So there we have it. There's our first mate, and now we Control M again, and we're going to make this mate. Again, I'll click the circle, not the point, and I'm going to use that one again. Oops, I did not want the straw, I want that. Lower center node, and click that. Now we have our two there. Notice they're in the middle, so we can easily mate them. And then we need a mate connector for the straws, so Control M again. We want to click on, oh, hang on. Let's hold off on the straw mate connector. I think we're going to do that last after a composite part gets made. Yeah. So those are the mate connectors for the straws. Let's go into cut list, and then I think we probably want to make that last mate connector mate for straws after the cut list, because I think I had to select. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, let's try that last. It doesn't really matter what order you do it. Okay, cut list. The cut list is again, list of the unique straws. We really only have two in here, two lengths. We have this length, and we have these lengths. So I have 4, 78.75 millimeter, and 3. So this is going to give us a way of organizing all this. So let's show you how to do that. Cut list, it's going to be up there, or cut, you can find it, cut list. And now you can select all frames, which is going to be all of our straws, and that should do it actually. We can look down here. It creates a composite part. Yeah. All frames means this is the frame tool. So it's including anything generated in a frame tool in the cut list. Now we should look over here and we'll see we have the same thing. Slightly different dimensions because I've changed a few things since the other sketches. We don't need these angles. You can right click, hide column, right click, hide column. If the ends of the straws had an angle, they would show those angles there so you know how to make them. You can go and you can add names to these. If you want, you can name your straws. That's column overrides. So you can pick, I want to name this one, and this one. Give it a name and call it horizontal straws. I don't know, horizontal straws. And that would give it a name column. And then I could name the others. You don't have to do that. However, it's handy. Since I started, I'll just finish it out. You can scroll down again. It's saying same as previous. No, I want to do the angle straws here. 4 of them. Oops, what did I do? Cancel that. Cut list. Add column override. Not same as previous. Click down here. What parts do you want? This one, this one, this one, this one. And we're going to scroll down. Name. Just type it. There's no drop down, unfortunately. Angle. This will make it easier when we get further down the road. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got names for them and lengths, quantities, and there's an item number, which is handy too. All right, now we'll do that mate. So I'm going to hide all my parts. I'm only going to show the composite part, and I'm going to make a mate tied to that part since I have it created. So let's Control M. I'll hide the cut list, and let's do this and bring it in. F. And Control M for mate. And origin entity now can be, oh, it doesn't like that. Oh, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter when you just pick that straw. And then we want to put it owner part. I did it wrong. Yeah, it wants a part. It wants an actual part. So owner part is the straw, and then origin entity, we want it to be, okay, this is the sketch, so which is halfway through. We want it to be on there, so you can pick either circle. Okay. Now we have our straw mate. I'll rename that. And the mate connectors, you don't have to name those, but those obviously you're going to know when you use those. Okay, if we show everything, oops, there we have. Now, one thing that gets done when we go into the assembly, this composite part takes all these parts out of the assembly, so they won't show up when we go to use this. It'll be one part. So that's why we have this cut list, so that we have those parts in here, and it's done a nice thing for us, and it's combined all the duplicates. That's really nice. So, okay, believe that ends our side part studio. It does. We have what we have here. Same thing. Oops. And we're looking at the front plane. So you have the same thing there as we do for the video. Oops, there, video. Okay, that should be good for your next, for making our next, what we'll make next is the assembly where we finish this off. Again, there's several reasons why we would not add just these 2 nodes. You might have more nodes to add. The other thing we're going to lose if we do it in here, we're going to lose those names that we've given them. Notice we had to add those names back in the cut list. So we would have to go through and name everything again. Where here this is a nice thing, but then that's something just that we have to change later if we make any changes. So straws, you don't really have a choice. They're hard to mate. But the nodes, definitely I would just keep them out. I would not use transform in here. It follows the rules well of Onshape, where you only draw one part one time. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.